All right, strap in, everyone, because today we're going deep on the art of war.
I
Right?
know.
I know you're probably thinking an ancient military treatise. What's that got to do with, like, my life?
And that's the fascinating part. See, Sun Tzu wrote this, what, like 2,500 years ago? Battlefield's his focus, but the strategies, the principles he lays out, they're kind of timeless.
So we're not talking like hand-to-hand combat tips here.
Not exactly. It's more the underlying stuff. Strategy, get your opponent, how to position yourself to win. Those ideas, they work today, just like back then.
Okay, so for someone listening right now, why should they care about the art of war in, the 21st century?
Put it this way, you're facing battles every day, right?
Right.
Big, small, doesn't matter. Tough negotiation at work, projects kicking your butt, even just sticking to your goals when life's throwing curveballs.
Yeah, okay, I see where you're going with this.
Sun Tzu, he gives you a framework, how to approach those challenges, but strategically. Thinking ahead, seeing the obstacles before they trip you up, outmaneuvering your, quote, opponent, even if that opponent is your own procrastination.
All right, color me intrigued. Let's break this thing open.
Perfect.
Okay.
Because one of the first things Sun Tzu does, he lays out these, he calls them the 5 constant factors, elements that determine victory in any conflict, he says.
5 constant factors, huh? Sounds pretty intense. Lay it on me.
All right, they are moral law, heaven, earth, the commander, and then method and discipline.
Whoa, okay, that's a mouthful. Break that down for me. What do they even mean, and how do they apply to real life?
Great question. Moral law. This means the people are united with their leader, got a shared purpose. Think of it like company culture nowadays, the values driving a company, or even just your own personal ethics.
Like a strong foundation. Everyone's on the same page about what they're fighting for.
Exactly. Then you got heaven and earth. Might sound a bit, out there, but they're practical. Heaven is stuff like weather, seasons, things outside your control. Today, think market conditions, economic climate, even politics,
And Earth.
That's the physical stuff, the terrain, distances, dangers. For us now, maybe it's the competition, resources you got, even just the challenges on a specific project.
So basically, be aware of your environment, the stuff that can affect if you succeed or not.
Precisely. Now, the commander, obviously that's the leader, right? But Sun Tzu, he doesn't just focus on being a tough guy. He wants wisdom, sincerity, benevolence even, courage, and strictness.
Wow, that's like the ideal leader, right?
Right. Applies to any leader, army, company, even just heading a family.
Okay, last one, method and discipline. I'm guessing this is where we get down to brass tacks, how to actually get stuff done.
Absolutely. Organization, logistics, chain of command, all that practical stuff keeps things running smooth. Think of it as the systems, the processes that let you take your strategy and turn it into action.
So having a brilliant plan isn't enough. You got to actually be able to do it, have the discipline, the organization to see it through.
Exactly. That's Sun Tzu's brilliance with these 5 factors. He's not just saying how to win battles. It's bigger than that. He's saying how to build success in anything you do.
Okay, that's a lot to process, but I'm starting to see how this can be applied to all sorts of areas in life.
And we've only just scratched the surface. Now let's get into one of Sun Tzu's most famous, maybe even a bit controversial principles. All warfare, he says, is based on deception.
Ooh, now that sounds interesting. Deception, huh? Tell me more.
Well, Sun Tzu, he believed to win, you got to outsmart the other guy, and that often means deception. Could be stuff like appearing weak when you're strong, hiding your true intentions, even spreading, misinformation to throw the enemy off.
So it's not always brute force. It's about using your brain, being strategic, maybe even a little sneaky.
You got it. And he gives some wild examples in the book, like creating the illusion of distance. Make the enemy think you're far away when you're close, or the other way around.
So the element of surprise is key.
Absolutely. You manipulate their perception, keep them guessing, use their assumptions against them.
Now I see why this old book is still so relevant. It's like a master class in strategic thinking. Doesn't matter if it's war, business, even just personal relationships.
Exactly. It's timeless. The dynamics of power, positioning yourself right, maneuvering to get that advantage.
Okay, hit me with some more. What else did Sun Tzu have up his sleeve?
Let's talk about something you might find surprisingly relevant. Sun Tzu's arguments against long, drawn-out warfare. He was all about quick and decisive action.
Oh, tell me more. I've definitely been guilty of letting things drag on longer than they should.
Well, Sun Tzu, he knew how much lengthy campaigns could drain you. Economically, psychologically, the whole 9 yards. He stressed efficient logistics, minimizing the burden on your own resources, and even get this, utilizing the enemy's resources whenever you could.
Keep things moving. Be resourceful. Don't let things get stale. I like it. Kind of like a personal project, right? Lose momentum. You risk losing interest, motivation, even support from other people.
Spot on. Think about it. You're working on something, you hit a snag, you start doubting, procrastinating. Suddenly, that initial excitement, it's gone.
Oof. Yeah, been there.
Sun Tzu, he'd probably say, break that big task into smaller chunks, right? Prioritize effectively. Even use your enemies. Those distractions, those doubts, turn them into fuel to prove them wrong.
I'm feeling motivated just thinking about it.
Yeah.
So what else can we learn from this master strategist?
All right, this is where things get interesting. Sun Tzu believed the highest form of generalship, it wasn't about fighting at all. It was about achieving victory without a fight.
Wait, what? Winning without fighting? How does that even work?
He called it supreme excellence. It's about getting what you want through strategic positioning, diplomacy, understanding your opponent's weaknesses.
So not avoiding conflict entirely, but choosing your battles, right? And sometimes figuring out how to win without even a direct confrontation.
Exactly. Sometimes the smartest move is negotiating a good deal, building alliances to make you stronger, even just waiting for your opponent to mess up, then you capitalize.
Whoa. Mind blown. This is seriously making me rethink everything I thought I knew about strategy. It's so much more than just brute force or even clever tactics.
And that's the beauty of Sun Tzu's work. He got it, you know. Victory, it's usually this complex mix of factors. And real mastery, it's understanding those factors and using them to your advantage.
Okay, I'm officially hooked on the art of war.
Hmm.
I can already see how these principles can be applied to, like, so many different things in life.
And we've just barely scratched the surface. There's so much more to explore in this book.
I'm ready. Let's dive in.
You know, one thing that keeps popping up as we go through this is the importance of knowledge. Sun Tzu, he really hammers that home throughout The Art of War.
Yeah, like that famous quote everyone knows, if you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. Seems like I see that one everywhere.
And there's a good reason for that. It's like the core of his whole strategy philosophy. Knowledge, he said, knowing yourself and the other guy, that's the foundation you build victory on.
So not just running into battle like a bull in a china shop, guns blazing. You got to actually do your homework, know the terrain, who you're up against.
Exactly. It's intel gathering, right?
Yeah.
Analyzing what are my strengths, weaknesses, and theirs. Then you can start to predict what they'll do.
Okay, but how do you do that in real life, I mean?
Yeah.
How do you get that kind of knowledge?
Sun Tzu's got some specific advice there, especially on understanding your enemy. Spies, of course, he's big on those, but it goes beyond that.
Spies. Wow, now we're getting all cloak and dagger.
Well, think about it. Information, that's power, right? Back in Sun Tzu's day, spies, that was how you learned what the enemy was up to. Their movements, strengths, weaknesses, even their morale.
Makes sense. But how do we apply that today? It's not like I'm going to hire a secret agent to, break into my competitor's office.
Right, but the principle's the same. What do we have now? Market research, competitor analysis, even just paying attention to what people are saying online, social media.
Oh, okay, I get you. So it's more like being observant, gathering information from all over. Then you use that to shape your strategy.
Exactly. Sun Tzu thought a good leader, they should be able to read the situation, spot those patterns, trends, anticipate the other side's next move.
All right, knowledge is power. But what kind of knowledge? What specifically should we be looking at?
Terrain, for one. Sun Tzu was all about that, literally and figuratively. He's got a whole chapter on the 9 varieties of ground, describing different types and how they can, impact a battle.
9 varieties of ground. That's a lot to keep track of.
It is. But the point is, be adaptable. No fixed rules in warfare. Sun Tzu believed that. And same goes for life. You got to adjust based on the situation at hand.
So not just a rigid plan, but being flexible, changing course when you need to.
Exactly. He talks about securing high ground, right? Controlling water sources, using natural barriers to your advantage.
Okay, in a war, yeah, I get that. But how does that translate to, say, a business deal or even an argument with someone?
Think about it. High ground. That could be a strong market position, having a unique selling point. Could even just be having the confidence to hold your own in a tough conversation.
Ooh, I like that. So knowing the terrain of the situation, how the power dynamics work, then you position yourself accordingly.
You got it. And just like a general has to watch out for obstacles on a battlefield, right? You got to see what obstacles are in your way, whatever you're trying to do.
Like what kinds of obstacles?
Sun Tzu, he talks about things like entangling ground, where it's easy to get stuck, or temporizing ground, where it's better to wait for the right time to act.
So knowing when to go full speed ahead and when to, like, hold back, when to take a risk, when to play it safe.
Exactly. And sometimes the smartest move is just avoiding certain types of ground altogether. Like he says, don't attack an enemy who's in a strong position. Or if they're faking a retreat, don't chase them.
Don't poke the bear unless you've got a really good reason. Got it.
Right. And he also says, don't go after soldiers whose temper is keen. Basically, don't pick a fight with someone when they're all riled up, emotional. Pick your battles wisely. Know when to walk away from something that's not going to help you.
This is all making a lot of sense, actually. It's not just brute force or even just clever tactics. It's being strategic, seeing the whole picture, making smart choices based on what you know.
Exactly. That's why the art of war still works today. It's
Mhm.
how to think about challenges, how to build a winning strategy, how to get to your goals, whatever they are.
All right, hit me with more of this strategic wisdom. What else does this ancient master have for us?
Well, Sun Tzu goes beyond just the physical terrain. He
Hmm.
gets into the five elements too: water, fire, wood, metal, earth.
Wait, like the elements from Chinese philosophy? I didn't realize you got into that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah, and it's fascinating. He uses them to show how things are always interacting, influencing each other, just like in nature.
Yeah.
And just like a general has to adapt to different terrains, right? They got to consider these elements in their strategy, too.
Okay, color me curious. Give me an example. How do these elements play out in like a real conflict?
Fire, for example. Sun Tzu's got a whole chapter on using fire as a weapon,
Yeah.
different techniques, right? When's the best weather to use it, even how to counter an enemy's fire attack.
Wow, that's pretty hardcore. So fire, that's like aggression, attack, destruction.
Yeah, but it's not just brute force. He talks about strategy with fire too, creating diversions, messing up their supplies, even just like demoralizing the enemy.
Okay, I see. So how would you apply fire to, say, like a business setting?
Think of it as your passion, that drive you have, the ability to make things happen. You use that fire to motivate your team, win over clients, push your vision forward.
Got it. So what about water? What's that symbolize?
Adaptability, that's water for Sun Tzu. Fluidity, going around obstacles instead of through them. Water flows around a rock, carves its own path, right? A good strategist does the same, adapts to changes, finds creative solutions.
Okay, I'm getting a feel for how these elements can represent different parts of strategy. What about wood then?
Growth, that's a big one with wood. Expansion, strategic planning. Tree needs strong roots to grow tall, right? Successful army needs a solid foundation and a clear vision for what's ahead.
So wood would be like your long-term strategy, how to build lasting success.
You got it. Setting those clear goals, the right team, and systems that support growth, all that.
All right, metal then. I'm thinking like swords, armor, that kind of stuff.
You're not far off. Sun Tzu connects metal with discipline, organization, being strong defensively, well-made sword. It takes precision, control, right? Well-disciplined army, same thing, keeps order, withstands attacks.
So metal, that's your internal structure, your
Mhm.
systems, processes, being able to actually execute the plans.
Exactly. Clear chain of command, rules, procedures, everyone working towards the same goal.
Okay, that leaves Earth. What's Sun Tzu's take on that one?
Stability, he says. Being grounded, understanding where you stand. General needs to know the terrain, right? Good leader, same thing. Grounded in reality, knows their strengths, weaknesses, and the resources they've got.
So Earth is about having a realistic view of yourself, A&D, the situation you're in.
Exactly. Knowing your limits, spotting opportunities, making good decisions based on, like, the facts on the ground.
Wow, this whole five-element thing is pretty amazing. It's like Sun Tzu's giving us a whole new way to look at strategy.
It shows how he really got it, this holistic view of warfare. He knew victory wasn't just about strength or clever tricks. It was about how everything's connected and how you can use those connections.
I'm honestly blown away by this. I feel like I need to go back and reread The Art of War now that I get this whole five elements thing.
You know, that's what makes Sun Tzu's work so good. There are all these layers of meaning. Every time you read it, you're likely to find something new.
Well, I'm definitely hooked. This is way more than just some old military book. It's like a guidebook for life, for making strategic choices, reaching your goals, whatever field you're in.
And we've only scratched the surface of what the art of war has to offer. You
Mm.
know, as we get further into the art of war, one thing that really strikes me is how Sun Tzu, he's all about momentum.
Momentum, you mean like keeping things moving, pushing forward.
Exactly. He understood that in any kind of conflict, battlefield, business, whatever, keeping that momentum going, that's key to winning.
Okay, yeah, makes sense. But how do you actually like create momentum
Yeah.
and keep it going, especially when you're hitting roadblocks, setbacks, all that?
Sun Tzu, he's got some good advice there. He talks about striking quickly, decisively, when the opportunity is right there.
Seize the moment, don't hesitate kind of thing.
Exactly. He compares a fast army to a serpent striking. Fast, precise, and deadly.
Ooh, okay, I like that visual. So being proactive, taking the initiative, not letting the enemy or the competition, whatever, dictate the pace.
Exactly. But it's not just speed, it's efficiency, too. Sun Tzu was big on using your resources well. No waste, no unnecessary delays.
Streamlining, right. Cutting the fat, making sure everything's running smoothly.
That's it. He believed a well-organized army, clear communication, logistics on point. That's how you keep momentum even when things get tough.
Okay, momentum, got it. But what about when things go wrong? You hit a wall, you have a setback, what then?
That's where adaptability comes in. Sun Tzu knew no plan goes perfectly, especially when you've got an opponent.
So be ready to, like, change your strategy mid-game.
You got it. He compares a skilled general to water, always flowing, finding a way around those obstacles.
Ooh, I like that analogy. So be flexible, willing to change course, and don't get too stuck on one specific plan.
Precisely. And he's also big on learning from mistakes. Analyze what went wrong, adjust your strategy based on that.
Okay, so momentum, adapt, and learn from those screw-ups. This is all great stuff, and I see how it applies to so many things in life.
Absolutely. Whether you're running a team, a business, or just working on your own goals, these are principles that'll help you stay focused and handle those bumps in the road.
Right, so we've covered a lot. Momentum, adapting, knowledge, those 5 elements. Anything else we can take away from Sun Tzu's his wisdom here?
There's one more thing I want to touch on, and it's really relevant today, I think. The idea of psychological warfare.
Psychological warfare. Now that sounds intense.
It is. But it's not about, like, physical force or anything like that. It's about understanding how powerful perception is, how you can shape the story, even influence someone's emotions, their beliefs.
So it's like a battle for hearts and minds.
You got it. Sun Tzu thought breaking the enemy's spirit, that was just as important as beating them on the actual battlefield.
Okay, I'm all ears. How do you actually wage psychological warfare then?
He gives a few tactics. Deception, to create confusion, right? Make them uncertain. Spreading rumors to hurt morale. Even staging events to get the psychological effect you want.
Manipulating how people see things, making them scared, doubtful, so they don't want to fight anymore.
Exactly. And he really knew how powerful propaganda is, controlling what information people get.
That's so true today, right?
Yeah.
Social media, we're constantly bombarded with information. It's hard to know what's real sometimes.
Sun Tzu would probably say the battle for hearts and minds, it's more crucial now than ever.
So how do we protect ourselves from this then? Or even like use it ethically to our advantage?
First, you got to know what tactics they're using. Pay attention to where your info's coming from. Be critical. Don't just believe everything you see.
Be media literate. Think for yourself. Don't just swallow whatever they're feeding you.
Right. And if you want to use these ideas ethically, build a good reputation, that's huge. Communicate clearly. Be genuine so people trust you, have confidence in you.
Okay, so it's not about tricking people or lying. It's about being real, upfront, building actual connections.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, I think Sun Tzu would say the best way to win this psychological battle is to stay true to yourself. Your values, your vision, that's what matters.
Wow, that's really powerful. We covered so much ground today. From those 5 constant factors to the elements, momentum, adapting, this whole psychological warfare thing.
And through it all, you see how Sun Tzu, his ideas, they still work. Timeless insights for navigating our crazy modern world.
I'm definitely inspired to go back and read The Art of War, again, with all this new stuff in mind. And, I think everyone listening should do the same. Pick up a copy, dive in, see what you can learn, apply it to your own life.
And remember what Sun Tzu said, every battle is won before it is fought. So get prepared, strategize, and go out there and conquer those challenges, whatever your battlefield might be.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the art of war. Until next time, stay curious, stay strategic, and keep on learning.